Hello students, welcome to this new class of strategic management. This is the fifth class. We are more or less in the middle of the course. So in this class, during this class, we are going to make a recap, a review, and we are going to speak about two new topics. We are going to finish in the strategic capabilities within companies. We are going to speak about the organizational structures, the hierarchy in companies, and we are going to speak about the family business and any other topics. Well, we are living tough times. I really hope that you and your family are okay. But we are going to speak about the huge economic crisis of economic effects of this coronavirus crisis on next classes and on another class. So in this class, we are going to focus on finishing the strategic capabilities of companies and the family business and the hierarchy. As you remember, with this image, we have seen all the layers in business environment. First of all, the macro environment. You have to remember the PESEL analysis, the factors that a company cannot control, political factors, economic factors, etc. Then the internal analysis, the micro analysis related with the industry or the concrete sectors of the company. You have to remember the Porter's 5-force model analysis, and then within the internal analysis, the competitors. Okay, and then in the last layer of the image, we can find the company. And we spoke on the last class about the strategic capabilities of companies and how to convert such strategic capabilities, competences and resources into competitive advantages and into sustainable competitive advantage. And in this class, we are going to finish such topic of strategic capabilities. We are going to speak about the barrow analysis and the value change, which are two effective tools to measure the strategic capabilities of companies. We are going to make a little review, a recap here by speaking about these concepts. First of all, we are going to make a little review of several concepts we have already seen. You have to remember that strategy is the direction and scope of a company over the long term. For example, a macro environment involves influences which affect the entire economy of business. So macro environment is not about our company, the company we're analyzing. It's not about the sector or industry of the company, it's the entire economic framework. Then you have microenvironment. Microenvironment could be defined as factors or elements in a company immediate area of operation that affects its performance and decision-making freedom. So we can say that factors of the macro environment are factors that we cannot control, but factors within the microenvironment, sometimes we can control it through the company's decision making. And these factors include, for example, competitors, very important, includes customers, distribution channels, suppliers, and the general public. And finally, in the last layer of the business environment, we can find the company itself. And we were speaking the last class about the company's resources and competences. You have to remember that strategy is all about exploiting such strategic capabilities of companies. And strategic capabilities, in terms, the meaning of strategic capabilities is the resources and competences of such concrete company to provide competitive advantage. If we maintain such competences and resources for a certain period of time, it could become competitive advantage. and could bring us new opportunities. And if we maintain such competitive advantage for a certain period of time, we could achieve sustainable competitive advantage. We are going to speak about that on the next slides. We are going to see a 1-minute video of Warren Buffett speaking about what is the definition of a sustainable competitive advantage, a durable competitive advantage.
At Berkshire Hathaway, we have all kinds of businesses. We own 73 businesses now, and in businesses, we're looking for an entity that has durable competitive advantage, somebody that not only is doing well now, but will do well 10 or 20 years from now. And in capitalism, when you have a wonderful business, it's like having an economic castle. And the nature of capitalism is that people want to come in and take your castle. It's perfectly understandable. I mean, if I'm selling television sets or something, there's going to be 10 other people that are going to try and sell a better television set. If I have a restaurant here in Omaha, people are going to try and copy my menu and give more parking and take my chef and so on. So capitalism's all about somebody coming and trying to take the castle. Now, what you need is you need a castle that has some durable competitive advantage, some castle that has a moat around it. And that moat, one of the best moats in many respects, is to be a low-cost producer. But sometimes the moat is just having more talent. I mean, if you're the heavyweight champion of the world and you keep knocking out people, you've got a competitive advantage as long as you can keep doing it. And it's very profitable if you're the one that happens to be able to do it. If you can turn out great motion pictures, I mean, you know, Steven Spielberg, I mean, he's a fellow to bet on, and it has enormous economic value. Well, we're looking for that institutionalized. We're not looking for the best brain surgeon in town. We're looking for the Mayo Clinic. So we want an institution that, regardless of the person in charge, will maintain that competitive advantage over the decades. And we hope we find that in some businesses, and then we try to get the best person that we can to run them. Usually it's the person who's been running them.
Are you always right, or do you make mistakes?
No, we make mistakes. It wouldn't be any fun if we didn't make mistakes. I mean, if I went out and played golf and every one of the 18 holes I hit a hole in one, I wouldn't be playing golf for very long. I mean, you have to go into the rough occasionally to make the game interesting. Not too often, though.
We are going to speak about the Brio framework, and in order to introduce such Brio framework, Brio analysis, we have to remember from the last class the difference between a competitive advantage and a sustainable competitive advantage. Okay, we have to think that from our company's resources or our company competences, we are going to achieve a competitive advantage from our competitors. But of course, our competitors are going to copy such competitive advantage, and therefore it's going to last only a certain period of time. In order to achieve a long competitive advantage, sustainable during next years, we have to achieve as we call in strategic management a sustainable competitive advantage. Is what Apple have, Amazon, and hundreds of companies. And why do achieve such sustainable competitive advantage? Well, we're gonna achieve them by doing the Brio framework. Through this analysis with this tool, we are gonna check if our competitive advantage could be considered sustainable competitive advantage. If it's not considered a sustainable competitive advantage, what things do we have to change in order to make it a sustainable competitive advantage? As usual, we are going to start with a little definition of the Brio framework or the Brio analysis. Okay. Well, the Brio analysis is a tool used to analyze the company's internal resources and capabilities to find out if they can be a source of sustainable competitive advantage. The four criteria, the four words of Brio analysis, which are going to determine if the capabilities of the company or the resources of the company can be assessed in terms of providing a basis for achievement sustainable competitive advantage, are the next four. value, rarity, inimitability, and organizational support. We're going to explain those concepts on the next slides. In order to know if our competitive advantage, if our competences and resources of the company has those 4 requirements, we have to wonder several things. For example, when we are speaking about value, we have to wonder, are our capabilities valued by customers and enable the company to respond to environmental opportunities and threats? When we speak about rarity, we have to wonder, is our competence or resources, our capability, a unique capability, or other competitors already have the same competitive advantage or the same competence or resource? When we speak about inimitability, we have to wonder, are our capabilities difficult and costly for competitors to obtain and copy? And finally, very important, when we speak about organizational support, we have to wonder, is the organization, is the company appropriately organized to exploit such capability? So to sum up, we could say that the key of the Brio framework or the Brio analysis is to convert such resources or competences of the company, such capabilities, strategic capabilities, into sustained competitive advantage. And in order to achieve such goal, convert our capabilities into sustainable competitive advantage, we have to be payable, only help to exploit opportunities or natural threats. Our competence or resource have to be rare, have to be imperfectly imitable. Let's think, for example, in that our competence, our capability is unique historical conditions, it has casual ambiguity or social complexity, and it has to be not substitutable. We are gonna name just a couple of features of characteristics of each 4 factors: value, rarity, inimitability, and organizational support. Related with value of such strategic capabilities, we can say that strategic capabilities have value when they, for example, take advantage of opportunities and neutralize threats. The strategic capabilities have value when they provide value to customers, and they have value when they are provided at a cost that still allows an organization to make an acceptable return. So, for example, let's think on a strategic capability, a very, very expensive strategic capability. That's not the value for a company. We have to think that it has to be provided at a cost that still allows the companies to have an acceptable return. When we speak about the next one, the rarity of strategic capabilities, we refer, first of all, to rare capabilities are those possessed uniquely by one organization or only by a few others. Let's think, for example, in a patented product. Let's think that we have a supremely talented people, a powerful brand. For example, let's think on Netflix or Apple, okay? And finally, we have to say that rarity could be temporary. Let's think, for example, that patents expire, that key individuals can leave, or brands can be devaluated. So we have to be aware that rarity could be temporary. Another important factor of the Brio framework, of the Brio analysis, is inimitability of strategic capabilities. Starting with the definition, we can say that the inimitability of strategic capabilities are those that competitors find difficult and costly to imitate, to obtain, or to substitute. Therefore, we can say that competitive advantage can be built on unique resources. Let's think, for example, on a key person or IT system, but this may not always be sustainable. For example, our key person could leave to a competitors, or our competitors could acquire the same IT systems that we have. Okay. And finally, we have to say that sustainable advantage is more often found in competences than in resources, and it often found in the way that competences are linked together and integrated. So not just in one competences by, for example, putting together several competences within the company. And finally, the last factor of the Brio tool is the organizational support. The company must be suitably organized to support the valuable, rare, and immutability capabilities that it has. And this includes appropriate processes and systems. Just as an example, I have a friend who had a very well built web page, and at in certain point he was receiving dozens of information requests every day from customers, but he didn't have time for answer them, and because he didn't have any employee or any process, any systems to process such volume, and at the end, of course, he had to shut down such web page because he didn't have the structure to support this capability. Let's think on the case that, for example, we have a competitive advantage, but it's not valuable. Well, this is not a competitive advantage. What happens if we have a competitive advantage, but which is very valuable, but is not rare? Well, of course, this is a competitive parity because another competitors are going to copy immediately or already have such competitive advantage. What's happened if we have a competitive advantage which is valuable, rare, but not inimitable? In that case, of course, as we were speaking, we're going to have a temporary competitive advantage. And finally, what happens if we have a valuable competitive advantage is as well as rare, as well as inimitable, but is not well organized? In that case, we will have an unused competitive advantage. So just in case that we have the four requirements, we have a valuable competitive advantage, which is as well rare, which is also inimitable, and it is well organized. In that case, we're going to have a sustainable competitive advantage. And finally, we can find here a chart in which we can see if our competitive advantage is going to be sustainable competitive advantage, or as opposite of sustainable competitive advantage is going to be a temporary competitive advantage. Okay, for example, we can speak about financial competitive advantage, fixed assets, or technological competitive advantage. But if those competitive advantage are not costly to imitate, of course we are before a temporary competitive advantage because other competitors are going to copy that competitive advantage, and we are going just to have this competitive advantage for a certain period of time, for a short period of time. And it's the same, for example, if our competitive advantage cannot be exploited by the organization. And here you have, for example, a Brio analysis of the textile group Zara from the company Inditex, Spanish company Inditex, one of the biggest textile groups in the world. We have here for competitive advantage, positive market reputation, leadership team, awareness of brand, and high customers rating. And with this, we have finished the Brio analysis or the Brio framework. And on the next video, we are gonna briefly speak about the value chain, the Bores value chain. And with this value chain, we have finished the topic of the strategic capabilities. Thank you.